bring 'em out, bring 'em out, bring 'em out, bring 'em out.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for Bring 'em Out with your hosts, Joel Richardson and Alan Hill.
Hey everybody, we're here at the Sunnybrook Ballroom inside the podcast studio with another episode of Bring 'em Out. I'm Alan Hill, here with Soul Joel himself, Joel Richardson, and today, very exciting solo episode. We're going to hear about Joel's big night last week, which I cannot wait to talk about.
Well, sorry. So here's what happened. Julian McCullough, who
Our first episode ever, and one of Joel's friends growing up.
Yeah, so he was a grade ahead of me in school, in high school.
Okay.
But we went to middle school together, on up, and stayed in touch. Mm-hmm. And by the time I started comedy, he was already past at the Comedy Cellar.
Okay.
So he's advanced. He was headlining already. You know,
He was kicking ass young, huh?
kicking it. Yeah, exactly. And so he's been on this tear with Nate. Mm-hmm. So the book comes out.
And let's explain that real quick for the people that don't know. We're talking about Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
And Julian has been touring the freaking country, opening up for Nate in
Yeah.
big arenas.
Which I didn't know until after the show.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain that. But he's top 5 touring in the country right now, which I didn't know.
Nate, we're talking about, obviously.
Yeah, Nate.
Okay.
And
Is that like a category thing, like comedy only? Or
comedy. Yeah. Top
That's
5.
incredible.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you think about all the big guys. That,
Dude, Chappelle, Rogan, people that we know sell out arenas already for years now.
Yep. Yeah, Tom
Kevin
Segura,
Hart.
Kevin Hart,
Yeah.
Sebastian Maniscalco.
Freaking Fluffy.
Yeah, so that was for 2023. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if
He's probably rising
yeah,
because he's still on the way up. That
exactly, because he did SNL at the end of October.
guy. I mean,
Yeah.
boop.
Yeah. So, I texted Julian, and I don't ask for anything ever.
Yeah, no.
I just
I know that about you.
don't do it. So I texted Julian. I go, hey man, I have a book coming out. It's called Not Funny. I said, if there's any chance you
Available for order, by the way, people.
yes, if there's any chance you think I could get on Nate's podcast, it was a huge help. He wrote back, I've been opening up for Nate for a year in arenas, and I have not yet been on a guest on the pod. Just to give you any indication.
Yeah, and Julian's well known enough that, by the way, that Dan Soder, when he started his new podcast, Julian
was the first guest.
Was one of the first guests. Yeah.
Yeah, which it was amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He goes, but I did talk to Nate, and Nate does want you to come to his show in Philly.
That's so cool, man.
I was like,
I got my hair stood on end when you told me this.
not a bad consolation.
Yeah, fucking hey, bro. Yeah, and like backstage passes and whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we go. It's my girlfriend and Deanna.
Oh, okay, right on. Dig it.
Yeah. So we go to the show. We're sitting probably like we're in the 100 level. So now we would have been probably 10 rows back if it was the Sixers game.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. So you're
Yeah.
right off the floor.
Right off the floor.
Yeah. That's like in a lot of ways that's better than being on the floor, unless you're in the first like 5 rows.
Exactly. But now we weren't 10 rows from they played in the round. So what happened was
wild.
They sold out. It was a record.
So it's a real sellout.
So it's a record sellout because now they played, which would be center court. That's the round. Center court.
Okay.
They had more people on the floor than we could fit in the ballroom
No kidding.
because it's both sides,
Yeah.
all sides, and yeah. So it's and then
massive,
and then
yeah.
you have so it was 17,000 plus because you're talking and because I'm in promotions, I looked, seats were full, so it wasn't just a
It wasn't a paper.
paper,
You're not
no.
just saying sellout.
doesn't say it sell out.
There's no curtain anywhere.
Yeah, because I even looked online to see like what time the show started, what time the doors open.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like the tickets were unavailable that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So cool for Nate too. Wow.
Here's a funny thing. So I actually went down the night before, stayed, took a day off. I worked like 10 days in a row. I worked that Monday with my mom.
This is a very very rare thing, people.
Yeah, taking a day off. So Deanna had recommended one of the restaurants that's opened by Mark Vetri, who used to own the restaurant where Scott worked at in the Navy Yard.
Okay, I've heard many stories about that
Yeah,
place.
so it was another place They had been on a Netflix series, been featured. So I sent it. We sat outside. It was a little cold, but they had a heater and stuff like that. It was like cool because we were
It's like being back in the dome? Or in
we're-
the,
yeah,
in the,
yeah. I'm like, we're literally about to go to a show. So the waitress, I overheard going, "Oh, that table over there is headed to see Nate Bargatze at the Wells Fargo Center." Waitress comes back. I go, "Did I tell you we were going to Nate Bargatze?" She goes, "No, you are." And I said, "No." She goes, "You just said a show." I said, "Oh." She goes, "You just heard me say Nate to another table." I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh." She goes, "Why do you say that?" I go, "Well, we're headed to Nate too." She goes, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm in comedy. I have a comedy club." I go, "Nate headlined a bunch of my earlier shows. But the guy I went to high school with, I go, is opening." I go, "I'm really good friends with all of them. We're going to the show." Mm-hmm. She goes, "All right, well, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to." She goes, "Nate's coming here after the show." I said, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't." I go, "How many people would be like, I'm really good friends with Nate? That's all it takes?"
Totally,
You just
dude.
I go, "The restaurant, we're outside. We're not even inside. Restaurant holds 20.
Dude, that's so funny.
20 people." So they were headed there after the show. They were going to do with the homeless pimp and stuff like that. They were going to film some stuff. And
Okay.
they just know it's going to be, huge to be like, "Oh, Nate ate here." I go, "Yeah, but Nate hasn't ate here yet."
Right.
This whole thing could be.
Right.
But
It could be, if he rolls in and there's 800 people standing on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
the whole thing's off.
Now, I kept it under wraps until now.
Right.
But what
And
is
who?
she do-
How did she know that that you were going to be cool? You could have been some nutcase that just looked up,
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I
Well,
stumbled into this. Let me make up a story real quick."
I almost said it to them. By the way, but I didn't want to ruin anything, and thank goodness I didn't, because that would have been a clip that we posted online. Would have been behind the scenes. Like I didn't get to talk to him for very much outside of that clip, which we'll get into in a minute. But but thank goodness. So,
It's wild.
but I'm like, but here's the thing. There's thousands of places to eat in Philly. What are the odds that I ate at the same place that they're going to after the show?
Dude.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's crazy.
Crazy. So we figured out where we met up with my sister, and when we go to check in, got tickets, will call waiting for us, go in. We sit down, and then sitting behind us go, "Thank you, Joe." Joe Zimmerman. So the lineup was Julian McCullough was hosting. Then Steve Rogers.
Oh, I know Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, who came to Soul Joel's with
Steve's great.
with Joe List and a
Yeah, totally, man. Totally.
bunch of other times we had
That's how I
headline.
got to know him through
Yeah.
being a Tuesdays with Stories guy.
A guy from Nashville, Mike James, destroyed, and then this guy Joe Zimmerman. They're all headliners, and they all did 10 minutes in the round.
Is Zimmerman the bald guy?
I'm not sure who you're
Maybe.
talking.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Mike James was this tall black guy. He's 6'7", but he's in the round, so you don't even know. Like you can't really tell.
and
but
he's,
you can
yes,
tell.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Julian crushed with crowd work, by the way.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Circling around.
Circling around. We'll get to that in a minute, but so much to the story. But Joe Zimmerman, so people, we start talking, and we found out that people behind us went to high school in Morgantown, West Virginia, with Joe Zimmerman. So we must have been in like that section.
No shit.
As we say that, Jake Matera,
Oh yeah.
Philly, ended up sitting right next to me. So again, I don't know if he got ticked. I didn't even ask him,
Jeez.
but I don't know if he's
Like
close.
Sidney Gantz right there.
Sidney
Shaner's
close.
over here.
Well, and that's the thing too. You find out afterwards, like 17,000 people, Nate, Julian, Philly, comedy fans. I ended up knowing a lot of people that posted pictures, but at the time, I only saw one person that I knew.
Isn't that wild, man?
Wild. Yeah. And so Julian comes up and he's settling in. I'm like, we're watching. Show was supposed to start at 7. Obviously, with that many people, I think they ended up starting at like 7:20, 7:25. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. But that's what I assumed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But Julian's almost like herding cattle, or cats or whatever, like trying to get it all. And he's like, "What's up, poor people?" And he's talking to like the ride, so he got them involved right away.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Smart.
and like,
Julian's is very smart man.
yeah. Just all I talked to him about it afterwards. I'm like, "Dude, you crush with crowd work," and he's like, "It took a while to adjust because he's been doing it for a year now.
Does he? Do you know if he generally does that? Like, is that
Now
what he
he's
does
been-
on a nightly basis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, talking to him afterward. But that's crazy. Like,
Wild, dude. So
To
you're,
try-
like, you're just flying up with no, like, with.
well, no, and he did some material
I'm
settle
sure he
in.
did around it, but
Right.
But
But
still, you're flying like you're improvising a lot every
Yeah.
night. That's really interesting. That's
just
cool.
phenomenal. dude.
Ballsy and awesome.
Yeah. And brings up Steve. Steve does really well. Ends up some lady yelled out his flies down, and he's like, "That's cool in front of 17,000
Was
people."
it really down?
It was really down, and he put it up. Yeah. And then Julian came back on and was like, "Dude, that's one of our biggest things. Like, you're on the jumbotron." Because like, so they're in the round, and even though I'm looking, you see them up in the thing, and I couldn't stop watching the jumbotron,
Right.
even though I'm live. But you just
I know
can't.
what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So
It draws
many.
you.
Yeah, dude. And even like Jake and I talked about it. You're like, both of us were like, I don't even know how this is gonna. And they all made it work. Like one of the hardest nights I've laughed in a while.
That's so awesome.
But
man.
you wouldn't think it. You're like, this is not gonna work. You're like, it's not. It's supposed to be intimate.
Right.
That's what every comedy show is supposed to be.
Yes.
Intimate environment. Everyone's close.
Yes.
And it worked.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And
Blows me away.
dude, really cool. And it's just it would. I wanted to tell you a couple of jokes, but like I can't like even do it justice. But like we were like rolling in our seats. It was so funny. So like I told Julian we're here. He's like, "Oh, did you get your seats?" I'm like, "No, we're in our seats, and this is our seats." And so I didn't know if we were gonna go backstage or anything like that.
Oh, okay, right
Which
on.
There isn't a backstage because they're in the round. Like
Anyway.
yeah. So we start leaving, and I'm like, dude, thanks again for the seats. I'll catch you soon. I have him booked for a show coming up. He calls me. He goes, dude, where are you? And I go, I'm in the section. Then I realized, I'm like, he's by where the stage is. Mm-hmm. And he goes, oh, yeah, my bad. I'm in the showroom. I'm like, the showroom? Wells Fargo Center. Like, I'm in the corridor, but he's calling it the showroom.
I'm in the show.
I'm like, adorable.
That's awesome.
So we go, and he knows Deanna very well. Met Lauren for the first time, and he goes, "Listen," we caught up. I'm fast forwarding. Mm-hmm. He goes, "I want to bring you guys all backstage. They had an incident in a city. The tour manager is now really getting strict with this.
Okay.
Nate wants to see Joel, but I can't bring you guys back." They both were like, "That's fine. Like, go back."
Right on.
Happy for, dude. And then I know the homeless pimp. The homeless pimp is
Big
has been-
podcast producer.
Yeah. And but now has just been almost full time producing specials and Nate's tour.
That dude rose through the ranks, man. Big
Dude,
time.
it's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And all amicable, and he loves all those guys. It's just, I can only do so much. You only have so much bandwidth.
For sure.
But I go back, and Nate's walking toward me like open arms, but I'm closer to the homeless pimp, and he's like, "Soul Joe." So I'm like, dude, rocking a hard place. I'm like, I had to say hi to the homeless pimp first because I was,
You were right there.
yeah. And then Nate, huge hug.
That's
and
awesome.
Dude, by the way, Nate wore a Flyers jacket the whole time. It was amazing. Apparently he's been doing it in every city. Like,
Smart
Get him
man.
like, yeah, dude, but just amazing, right? And so we just start talking and catching up, but homeless pimp starts taping it, and it just, I mean, I posted the clip. You can go on Instagram and Facebook. We post the clip, and they start talking about how Julian saying how I saved comedy over the pandemic, but then Nate's like, well, but he saved us way before that, like not just comedy, he saved us way. And he goes, when no one else wanted us.
Yeah, right,
He's like,
right.
Joel, take us. And
Dude, that video is amazing.
it's really cool.
Well, you keep going.
And I think because I tell stories, but that gave me street credit and validity. Like, I don't just know these guys. Yeah, they're saying they know me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not my word. That was their words. The guy that shook my hand.
Yes.
It's like one of the top agents at United Artists.
Okay.
He
That's
ha-
who I was talking
He
about.
handles all the top dogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know two of the comedians' names, so I thought that was one of the comedians. I got you now.
Oh, no, dude. That was an agent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
And I don't think.
That would explain the vampire-like complexion.
And I don't think, not seeing sunlight. I don't think he knew that they were taping.
Right on.
And
right
I think
on.
he just came over and like wanted to see because he came with Sal Volcano.
Oh, shit,
When
okay.
Chris DiStefano and him did Hey Babe
Okay.
at the Dome, and that's
Yes.
when he came.
Okay.
And he came with a bunch of guys from Live Nation. They were setting that up for a tour, and they did. They ended up, but that was the experiment.
Okay.
The lab almost, and doing
Okay.
it there, seeing how tickets would go, and so he was there.
That's-
and that's what he was talking about.
that's really
But then I think when he quickly realized he was on camera, that's when he
That's
dipped.
when he dipped out. in a
And he
hurry.
dipped for no reason.
Right.
And that's when everybody started laughing.
Yes.
And then we went back to it. But it was amazing.
so
and we ended
cool,
up
man.
leaving, and it just
Blew my mind, man.
Surreal.
I was so happy for you just hearing, like, because you know, I talked to you before and you about getting the text and everything to come on down, and I just couldn't wait to hear the story, man. That's epic. You know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
watch that video. So check out that the video they made on Facebook or wherever you can find it, Instagram, I'm sure, whatever, right?
Oh yeah. We posted on Soul Joel's Instagram and Soul Joel's Facebook. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it already, check it out. It's really cool.
Yeah. And I'm definitely working on getting Joe Zimmerman here. Mike James, I mean, he lives in Nashville. We'll probably work on him getting him. And, of course, Steve Rogers. I mean, they just crushed. And they all did it clean, dude.
That's amazing.
Not
cool.
one-
You're not working with Nate if you're not clean, you know?
I know. And that's one thing I wondered about. But, yeah, they all worked clean.
Dude,
I mean, I knew,
They're
but
professionals, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but still, you have to think like, okay, these guys, not all these guys are always clean like Nate.
Yeah.
How do they adapt? You know?
And that's one thing. So the show was probably an hour and 45 minutes, maybe an hour and 50 minutes.
Okay.
They each did 10 minutes. Julian probably ended up doing like 20.
Wow.
They did like 12 up top. He might end up doing like a half hour because Nate ended up doing an hour, and those guys each did 10, so that's an hour and a half. Yeah, so Julian probably did like 20 to 30 minutes. It might have been 2 hours.
Okay.
Because he did like 10 to 12 up top, and then he did a few minutes in between each comic.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and they opened with the George Washington Crossing SNL skit. It comes up.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm with you 100%. Yep.
Yeah, when he hosted, they did.
Totally.
They brought that up in the jumbotron, and then Julian comes up.
Well, that's really cool. What a great way to
Yeah.
open the show.
Now, here's the thing, FOMO. They in the video it says they get on the tour bus and they went to the next stop. Now, who knows? They always do that, but they don't get hotel rooms. Like they sleep on the bus.
Yeah.
And the next night, they were in Syracuse, and then they went to Albany
Okay.
in upstate New York.
Yep.
Jimmy Fallon opened up.
What?
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, and that's the second and third time that it's happened. He did it once in New Jersey, and phenomenal, dude. And it looked like bigger arenas than we were at.
Have you ever seen Jimmy do stand-up?
No,
I haven't either.
no. I mean,
Was he ever a
always-
stand-up?
That I don't know.
Okay.
But obviously, amazing
But I mean,
performer.
he's a funny guy. I mean, good
Yeah.
lord. But just
I don't know if he
and-
did
and-
Groundlings or what his background was.
Well,
being
I don't.
a comedic
And
actor.
honestly, if you're talking about just booking him, who cares? He's Jimmy Fallon,
Right.
But I'm just curious from a technical perspective.
Well,
That's
so
interesting.
and it's funny to watch from the backside all the guys talking about him, and like him and Julian are in pajamas.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like right after. Oh, I don't know if Jimmy was, but Nate and Julian were.
What a riot,
Yeah, and so right.
dude! That is priceless. Wow.
But Julian's post on Facebook or Instagram afterwards was shout out. First of all, what a weekend! Amazing. Opened up and performed at the Wells Fargo Center, and still got denied for one of their loans.
that's a great. Oh, that's
Great line, right? And then he
That's
goes,
great.
shout out to Nate Bargatze for shutting down traffic patterns in both Albany and Syracuse for the weekend, while allowing him, Steve Rogers, Mike James, and Joe Zimmerman and Jimmy Fallon to pursue their dreams. I'm like, but he included Jimmy in that. Allowing Jimmy?
So funny.
So funny.
Oh my God, Julian, man,
I can only imagine how that crowd had to have gone bonkers.
dude. Oh, they must have gone absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Man, I would. That's incredible. That's absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. Well, man, what a freaking night.
Yeah, no, it was a great night, man, and it was buzzing the whole time, and just not. And
Really exciting.
looking back, I was just so happy for the time, and I like my first thing was, so where are you guys headed to next? Like, and I'm like, dude, that's the one question I hate when I get asked.
Yeah, right.
Like, are you kidding? but I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even know what to ask.
Everybody turns into a fan at some point.
Well,
Even
I didn't want to say
question,
too.
you know what I mean?
I didn't want to say too much.
Yeah.
And I wanted to step on toes, and I wanted to. The one thing I wish I would have said. I wanted to talk to both Julian and Nate and tell them their stories in my book, and I didn't get a chance. I know.
That's okay. That's all right. They'll see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They will.
Or not.
You know? I mean, Julian definitely will.
Yeah.
And he'll make sure Nate sees it.
Yeah. But it was crazy, man.
I'm so excited for you, brother. I love
Yeah.
it. I mean, that's so cool. It just shows you what kind of guy this is, that somebody that, like Nate, that has reached the absolute pinnacle of the business at this point,
Yeah.
is still thinking about
Well,
you.
and if you look at their reaction, they were genuinely having fun.
Right.
Roasting.
Right.
And bringing it down to a level.
See, I love that. And
Like,
that's
phenomenal.
that's super, super cool.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, man. I love it.
It's
I
cool.
love it. And it makes sense to me.
Yeah. Another episode of Bring 'Em Out.
Bonus content.
Ready.
Sorry, I just got a cramp. Sorry.
Dude, we were at Angelo Lozada's celebration of life at Gotham Comedy Club, and the MC started talking about it, Mark Vieira, and Angel heckles, and he goes, "Angel, you're really heckling at a celebration of life?" He goes, "Guys, give it up for Angel Salazar, the only one in this room that should be dead." Way before all of us, and he's still alive, and Angelo's the one that died.
Dude, that's a trip. And accurate.
Yeah.
Maybe some bonus content for the
I love when you do that, by the way.
your ass was all up in the camera.
Oh, no. Oh, I thought you just...